Hello, 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 hello. Blessings, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Hello, you guys. Welcome to Let's Talk Live. Okay. If you are a wife, if you are believing to be a wife, you know somebody who is a wife, this is the place that you guys want to be. Okay. This is a platform where we as wives come together and we talk about wise stuff, encouraging one another, empowering one another to grow as powerful wives. Okay. So thank you for joining me today. I see you guys already know. Let me know where you are coming from so that I can shout you out. Texas is in the house. Hey, Texas, thank you for joining me today. Florida is in the house. Hey, Florida, thank you for joining. God bless you. God bless you. Listen here, you guys. Come on in. Come on in. Today, we're going to be talking about my story. All right. So I know that a lot of you have been, join me up and following my channel for the last, year, 2 years. And I know that you have been blessed, blessed by my channel. I am honored by that. But listen here, some of you guys don't know my story, okay? You don't know my story. You don't know how I'm able to come on here and talk like I do, okay? So I want to be a blessing to someone out here today. So I hope you guys tune in. I see you guys coming in. Y'all already know. Let me know where you are coming from so that I can shout you out. Jersey is in the house. Hey, Jersey. Thank you for coming on. Listen here, you guys, just a little announcement. We are doing channel support, okay? So last week I rolled out my supporters, okay? For the channel. Okay, so we have supporters, we have super supporters, we have VIP supporters. So if you've been blessed by this channel over the years, over the months, over the weeks, over the days, over the hours, I want to invite you to become a channel supporter. Being a channel supporter will help me to be able to continue this great work out here, being a blessing to you wives, helping wives to fight for their marriage and family. So if you want to be a supporter of this channel, of this work, of this movement, go ahead and become a channel supporter. Okay, based on the supporter levels, you guys, we have different perks. For the bare minimum, you guys, to be able to come on and comment on my live, comment on my videos. Listen here, you can see in the chat, if you get a time, an opportunity, peep in the chat. You see some supporters already in the green, okay? Or already their names are highlighted in green. They get a nice jewel on the side of their name. So listen here. Thank you guys for coming on and being a supporter. As of November 1st, you would have to be a supporter in order to comment. Okay, you gotta have to be a supporter. So listen here, you guys, don't just love, don't just like, don't just say, hey Miltoria, you've been blessed by my channel, but go ahead and let's make this official. Become a supporter. Now listen here, you guys, today I am going to be sharing my story with you guys. I know some of you have heard my story before, but for those who have never heard my story, I want to let you guys know how I'm able to come on here and just be an encouragement to wives. You know, a lot of people are going through in their marriage. And so I want to let you guys know how I am here today. So listen here, I have survived infidelity. Okay. I have survived infidelity. I know infidelity is one of those things that people say is a deal breaker. Like I can't take that, or some people are just worried that, hey, my husband said he loves someone else. He's moved out. He said he's moved on. What do I do? Well, let me tell you all something. I was about 8 months pregnant. And during this time, me and my husband, we were in a good place. Well, from my end, okay, from my end, me and my husband was in a very good place. We had an amazing relationship. We were doing great, financially. But then, y'all, as I'm 8 months pregnant, I was having some pregnancy difficulties. So I had to, take a trip off the island to go and, sort out my pregnancy, because now my pregnancy was, deemed high risk. So now listen here, me and my husband, we traveled to the US, and y'all know, if y'all don't know already, I'm from the Bahamas, right? So I'm an island girl, and we have the Bahamas is made up of over 700 islands and keys, and I was on the island, right? And so in order for me to deliver my baby, I had to, fly to somewhere where there were hospitals and facilities. So because I was having difficulties in my pregnancy with my second son, you guys, I traveled to Florida, and I traveled to Florida because my in-laws had a second home there. Okay. So now, I'm attending doctor, you guys, and, just being there, being in a safe space, y'all. Okay. So this is how I found out that my husband was unfaithful. I was attending doctor. Okay. Now listen, I already warned y'all to get y'all tissue, right? For some of y'all, this may be interesting. So grab your popcorn, whatever you need. So I was attending doctor, right? And whilst I was attending doctor, I found out that I had an STD. Okay. Now, in finding out I had an STD, listen here, I asked the nurse, is there another way? Botswana is in the house. Hey, Botswana. Thank you for joining. I asked the nurse if there is another way to get an STD. Now, listen here. Some of y'all might think like what were you thinking? Well, because me and my husband was in a great place, we had a great relationship. It had to be another way. Okay, it had to be another way, right? So anyways, now whilst I was attending the doctor, at first it didn't click right away. After I asked a dumb question, someone said, yep, I remember you saying that in the book. So after it clicked, I began to sob. Okay, I began to cry. I began to weep. All right, because there's no way, not my good husband, right? And so the doctor tried to console me. The doctor was like, well, Miss Woodside, these things can be dormant for years and show up, years after. And I told the doctor, there is no way. There is no way that this could be the case of dormancy, because my husband and I were together for a very long time. We were together at this point. We were 5 years together, and I was already 6 years into marriage. So that was 11 years that we were together. And not only being 11 years, when my husband and I first started dating, we were just in high school. Okay, nobody should have an STD. Thank God it was curable. Let me make that known. But yeah, so that's how I found out. And listen here, my sister-in-law had me attending the doctor. So whilst I was in the back, I was crying, I was sobbing, 8 months pregnant. And let me tell you something, I cleaned up my face, right? Because now I didn't want them to know that I had just uncovered this bit of information. I didn't want them to know. And so when I went out front with my sister-in-law, she was like, well, what happened? I said, child, that was a rough appointment. But I was devastated, you guys. I was devastated. I was hurt. I was broken. I mean, all kind of things were just running through my head. And at the time, I was in the U.S. My husband was back home in the Bahamas. So when I called him to tell him the news of the discovery, it wasn't no denying. It wasn't like, no, not me. What happened? He was more concerned of which STD was it, right? I guess again, just to be, calm and settle that it wasn't, it was something that was curable. But let me tell you all something. To find out at that time that my husband was unfaithful, just like many of you, I know you guys were blindsided, but let me tell you all the depth of my blindsidedness. My husband and I, we didn't have arguments. We didn't have issues that was leading up to this. We didn't have that. We had a wonderful relationship. We had great communication. There was no signs that this was going on. Okay, there were absolutely no signs. And not even that, when I told my husband about it, he was very remorseful. My husband, begged me, not to leave. He's so sorry. This is just a one-time thing. So all of these things, you guys, I had to deal with. But let me tell you all something. It was the days ahead, because after finding out this news, you all already know society has already paved the way for situations like this, because we hear people all the time saying, if this happened to me, this is what I'm going to do. I'll never go through that. I'll never do this type of thing. But let me tell you all something. When I was faced with it, It was like, hold on now. It was like a movie began to play in my mind because I was remembering all the good times we had, all the great memories, that we shared. And I had to ask myself, what am I going to do? Okay. But in my distress, I spoke with, one of my leaders at the time. I called my pastor. I tell him, hey, this is what I found out, and he asked me, he said, now, what are you going to do? Okay, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. He said, well, you have to make a decision. You have to decide what you were going to do. Now, when I decided what I wanted to do, I decided that I was going to fight for my marriage, okay? And at the time, I didn't know what fighting for my marriage looked like. Even though I made that decision, I did not know what that meant. Like, what do I do? Okay, fighting for my marriage, how? What does that mean? So, anyways, you guys, after sharing this with my husband, I told my husband, trying to find out who it was, because who could it possibly be? When my husband revealed to me who it was, I was extra devastated, y'all. I was even, it was like a ton of bricks fell on my head, okay? And talking about being naive, because I thought that my husband and I, we had this relationship where I didn't have to worry about women. I didn't have to worry about my husband cheating. So, my husband were around females, and I didn't worry about it because I trusted him, right? But come to find out that that trust was being taken advantage of, all right? And so when I found out who it was again, I was like, she's going to say she's pregnant, it's going to be for you. And I just was just, saying all these things because now, I mean, if I get an STD, that means the possibility of her being pregnant. I don't even know why I say that. I just say that because that's the way I felt. But come to find out, that's how it was. So when I found out, my husband was unfaithful, I found out who it was shortly after I heard that this young lady was pregnant. Now, my sister-in-laws, both of them, because at the time I was living with them, they were talking what they thought was behind my back, right? So they were, saying things, but they didn't know that I already knew that my husband was unfaithful. So they were talking these things right in front of my face, but they did not know that I was already aware. So that, again, that was another blow. But let me tell you something. Anyways, you guys, of course, the pain that I was going through. And then now here comes my beautiful bouncing baby number two that I really, really wanted to have. Like, y'all know the first son that I had, I had that, not planned. But that second one, I planned for that one. Right, I wanted that one. Let me tell you something. It was a bittersweet moment because my husband and I, we were just, our marriage began to decline. But let me tell you all something. In all my 11 years with my husband, 5 years together, 6 years in married, my husband always treated me very well. Always. Okay. My husband never raised his hand at me, never raised his voice at me. Like, he was very careful in how he treated me. But let me tell you something. After this infidelity was uncovered, it was like I was introduced to a whole different person. Okay. Anybody can testify that, now that you're going through what you're going through, your husband seemed to be a whole different person. Like, his characteristics change, his actions towards me change, how he treated me change. I mean, my husband was in a place where he didn't, like how some people say, well, what if your wife did this or what if she did this? Listen here. My husband didn't even entertain that type of conversation. Like, don't even make my wife an example in no type of way. That's how my husband was towards me. But listen here. Come on now. Someone say, yes, I saw the devil in my husband at one point. Okay. Listen here. When I tell you, I didn't even know the characters that was manifested my husband existed at this time. Okay. So, like I said, even though we say we want to fight, there's the pain of, the reality of what's going on, the pain of you got cheated on, possibly still getting cheated on. Like, the pain was still very present. And let me tell you something, even though I said in that time, that fresh moment, I said I was going to forgive my husband because the information that my husband gave, he said, well, this person, she's just like another boy. She's just like another one of the guys. She's just a friend. Nothing really. Well, okay, Kenya is in the house. Hey, Kenya, thank you for joining. Well, okay, so being the woman, let me tell you something. No, there is no greater detective out there than a wife who tried to find out what's going on. Okay, I'm talking about special ops, FBI. I began to snoop around. I began to just go on a fishing expedition, right? So, in me going on this fishing expedition, I began to find out information about my husband, information about this relationship, and come to find out, it was a lot deeper than my husband led me to believe. Okay, the relationship was a lot deeper. The time that they had been together was a lot more than I was led to believe. So again, not only finding out that my husband was unfaithful, this was not just a one night stand. Okay, this is not just a fly by moment. My husband was having a relationship for a number of years with this young lady. So now I'm feeling like a whole fool. Okay, anybody can relate. I'm feeling like a whole fool. Like I go on back to text message history. I go on back to phone history. Like, listen here, I was crushed again. Okay, so now when I go on to my husband to verify this information again, just being exposed to this new person, right? This devil. Okay, so now it was like I was the bad person. All right. It was like I was the one who was out here cheating and information was discovered on me. So that's how my husband began to, like flip the script. Come on now. Someone say, I'm seeing it now. I don't even know him anymore. The pain is present because I feel like he's doing it again and he never really dealt with it the first time. Okay, yeah, so I felt as if that it was a one-time thing, it's over and done, and then that's it. And not only I began to have, of course, mental struggles. Okay, so let me tell you all the mental struggles that I began to have. So I have been a woman, I was always very, very confident. I always had a high health self-esteem, so all of a sudden I just begin to crush my ego, my self-esteem, my confidence, because what man, like what did this individual have that she caused my husband to be unfaithful to me, right? What power this individual had that my husband, who always loved me so much, to basically worship the dirt I walked on, that caused him to be unfaithful? So that was another battle, that was another challenge. So now I'm wrestling in my head. I begin to look at myself and question myself in a different manner. Okay, and of course, being that I was just a new mother, there were things that I wanted to do. Like if I didn't have this newborn, right? If I don't know, I would probably act some type of crazy. But God is good, because I did not crazy because I had this newborn. So now that I had this newborn, let me tell you something. I used to have my friends. Okay, I used to have my friends tracking my husband, see where he is, who he is with. Let me tell you something. Y'all, thank you for joining me today, right? So I couldn't go out because I am new giving birth. So I used to call my friends, tell them, hey, go check this place, go check that place, and listen here. Like I said, my husband said it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't a one-time thing. It was a continuous, ongoing relationship that not it didn't stop when I found out. It continued on. Okay, so now here I am. I'm watching my husband, get ready, get dressed, look good, go out, and I didn't know whether he was with this individual or not. I didn't know, and I couldn't find out. So now I'm home, a new mom, devastated, crying all the time, crying. Right, I had bags under my eyes. My eyes are literally raccoon eyes. That's how much I was crying. And you know what? To add insult to injury, at this time I was a youth pastor and dance minister. Okay, so not only did I feel betrayed by my husband, I also felt betrayed by God. Okay. I felt as if that, Lord, like, I busy doing, handling your business, and you allowed this to happen. So I was mad at God. Right? Y'all know how we get sometimes we feel entitled. If we feel it, we feel entitled that God should do something special for us. So I had that feeling of entitlement also. But let me tell y'all something. Okay, so now here it is. I found out my husband was unfaithful. Not only is unfaithful, come to find out that the young lady who he was unfaithful with at the time that she was pregnant. Okay. Now y'all, listen, when I start telling people my husband was unfaithful, because now I need consolement, I need people to know this is what I'm going through. So the few people that I told, they knew. They knew that my husband, apparently I was the only one that didn't know that my husband was cheating. In fact, my husband and my sister got in an argument, okay? And because of the relationship my husband and I had, because of the relationship that me and my husband had, I didn't really dig into the argument, right? I just saw it as, my sister and my husband going head to head at each other. I did not go any deeper. On top of that, a friend of mine had her and my husband had an issue because, again, they didn't come to me, they went to him, right? And so when they went to him, it was like, what's going on? Because this is a rumor. What are you doing? So, and my husband was very crafty at the time, because my friend approached him about rumors about what was going on. My husband, before they came to me, he was like, oh, you wouldn't believe what was going on. People saying me and somebody having, me and this particular individual is having a relationship. Right? He said, but they don't know that now one of his friends, she's seeing one of his friends instead. So he is painting the picture to me that instead of him and this girl having a relationship, the girl and somebody else is having a relationship. So they all got it wrong. And I just took it as it is, right? Someone said, I'm 3 months pregnant. My husband is currently cheating, sleeping with the girl, and packing bags to stay there over the weekend. My goodness, right? So my husband was able to tell me things, and I believe him right off the bat because, again, the relationship that we had. Anyhow, you guys, it's already uncovered. I'm devastated. This is going through now. We're always back and forth. We're always arguing. I'm always crying. Now there is a point now that I guess my husband don't have to. I don't know if it was a show or whatever it was, but this beast came out. And on top of this beast coming out now that everybody know and everybody but me knew, there was another lady, right? There was another someone, because now in my head I fighting over how my husband do this with one person. Like, what she got special? Well, she was not special. Okay. She was, come to find out, she was not special. So now another lady, she now wants to expose my husband, right? She wants to expose my husband, and her wanting to expose my husband, she is giving me hard proof that my husband is, interested in her. So now I'm trying to approach my husband about this, what's going on. And me, I always like to have hard proof, like, what's going on with you and this person. My husband say he nothing, so I pull out the hard proof. Let me tell y'all something. For the first time, 11 years, me and my husband together, 5 years in a relationship, 6 years married. My husband, for the first time, because I was approaching him, because I was asking him about another relationship, my husband hit me for the first time. Okay. So that was like, I was shocked. Okay. I was shocked because who is this person? Who is this person? Who is this man that my best friend? Now this is like some of y'all, y'all in a relationship for a year, you just meet a person, and now all of a sudden this your best friend. This ain't that. This is 5 years together. We were already 11 years together. Okay. So this is a fly by night relationship. So for the first time, my husband hit me. A slap right to the face. Listen here, my husband slapped me so hard, I gone flying in the closet. Okay. Someone said many times, I don't even look for evidence. The dark always comes to light. I feel so sorry for him because the lie is only on himself. The behavior is like rebellion against our blessing. Yeah, but you know what's there was a point where I got to a place where I didn't look, but this was in my looking season. I would go through my husband's phone. I would go through my husband's email. And let me tell you something. Every time I go on his phone, every time I go on his email, I found something. Okay? I always found something. So yeah, my husband was still in contact with this person. My husband was still seeing this person. Okay? And come on now, I'm a new mother. All right. I got my 6 year old and I got my newborn, and this is what I'm dealing with. Listen here, I'm telling you, devastated is an understatement, And then, to again, now that this is uncovered, I begin to realize that if I wasn't naive, if I didn't trust my husband 1000%, I would have seen this coming because everything was done in the front of my face. My husband infidelity wasn't all secret. It wasn't all done behind my back. It was in the front of my face. It was done right in front of me. But because of the relationship I had, I didn't see it. Have y'all ever had a situation in your life where you're looking for something, right? And you're looking all over the place and you don't see it, right? And then all of a sudden you realize it right in front of you. So many things was right in the front of my face that I didn't see it. So I guess it was, I don't know, selective blindness. So now, laying down at night was always a replay of events, a replay of situations, a replay right in the front of my face. Okay. Someone said, that's how I feel. 26 and a half years together. My very best friend, at least he was. I just feel so lost. Yes. Right. So now here it is again, you guys. Right. This young lady is having a baby. So now I decided that I forgave my husband. I said, I forgive my husband. I'm trying to forgive my husband. But in me saying I'm trying to forgive my husband, there was always something coming up that, okay, I forgive him for this, but then I find out something else. So my husband was never clean with what went on. I was always uncovering something. Okay, I was always finding out something new. So every time I find out something new, it was like I gotta, forgive for that. I gotta move on from that. Okay. Someone said, Miss Meltaria, thank you for your transparency. Yes, I want to be transparent because you guys got to know where I come from. You guys got to know where I come from. Anyhow, because I don't see this gonna be a 2-part series, right? So, anyways, now this baby is coming, right? I decided that I was going to. At first, I said I ain't accepting this child. I don't want nothing to do with this child. Yeah, I forgive my husband, but this child, I don't want nothing to do with it. Okay. So let me tell you something. In my mind, I was already preparing, and listen here. In the Bahamas, I'm from a small community. Okay. I from a small community. Everybody know everybody. If I sneeze, my neighbor could catch a cold. That's how small the community is. So I was always constantly bucking into this young lady who was pregnant for my husband while I out here saying that I fighting for my marriage. At the time we, out as a family, my husband and I and my 2 kids, yet somebody else in the same facility pregnant for my husband. Right? I always tell people about the walk of shame. There were years I had the walk of shame. Because I decided that I was going to fight for my marriage and I was going to stick around, but it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing to go to the grocery store and see the young lady parading with her pregnancy. And during that time, she was posting my husband up on her Facebook, not on her Facebook, on her social media. Back then, it was this social media called High Five. So she's posting my husband on her social media. While I'm saying my husband is a man of God, I'm declaring that my husband is the priest of my home, and somebody else got him post up on her profile talking about a battle. Okay, someone said that's the worst feeling, finding out that you thought you all was good. Yes, right. Listen here, I remember having a conversation with this young lady. This young lady tell me, say I living in a bubble. She tell me I living in a bubble. She said my husband only love me within the four walls of my house. When he leave my house, he loves her. Right? Now this is see, this is your listen here. For those of you who may just be, at a point where you say, you need to talk to the young lady, that did not put me in a good place. Okay? Having a conversation did not put me in a good place. All right. That further revealed to me the extent of their relationship. That further revealed to me that I was out here looking for a long time. Okay. So while she said I was living in a bubble, right? She listen there, she kind of was right. She wasn't wrong in what she was saying. I'm thinking my husband was faithful and my husband's unfaithful. She tell me I think she's the only one. Okay. And I thought that. She said, you think that I'm the only one? I'm not the only one, but it ain't my business. So again, that put me in another bad space, right? So while I'm trying to get out of this hole that I was sinking in, things just keep on like digging me deeper, 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 and deeper in the hole. Listen here. Now I tell you all how I lose all this weight, right? I had just had a baby, and I went from a big fat something round something to musty. I went down to a musty size 5. Okay. I went down musty to size 5. My hairdresser, she said, Maria, you look so good. Oh my gosh, you lose all this weight. You need to give me your remedy. Listen, I tell her, I said, you don't want no part of this. Okay. I lost a lot of weight. I lost my hair. Let me tell you all something. I was just losing it. Okay. Someone said, my husband, the other woman said I was too smart to be so delusional. Yeah, listen here. You must think you just coming on. When I found out that my husband was cheating because I got an STD, and I asked the nurse if it's the only way, there's any other way you could get an STD. Talking about this thing is turning us dumb, dumb, dumb. Yeah. But anyways, you guys, here it is now. This young lady, she's carrying this baby. Small community. I bump into her all the time. I try to just stay my distance. I try to not, be confrontational, anything like that. I was trying to hold my peace. I was trying to do my best, y'all. I was trying to do my best. I was trying to be a good representative of God. I was trying to be. But inwardly, I was wasting away. Inwardly, I was losing myself. Okay. So, and when I talk about losing myself, like I said earlier, I was confident, I had a high self-esteem. All of a sudden, I was questioning everything. I was questioning how I look, if I'm good enough. If I'm good enough, where did I go wrong? What did I do? What could I do better? But and mind you, I kept a clean house. I cooked for my husband. I supported him, and I was confused sick. Okay, because society tell us, do this, do that to keep your husband, do this, and your husband ain't gonna cheat on you, do this, and your husband ain't gonna cheat on you. But I did all of those things, and my husband still cheat on me, right? Kept a clean house. I was a good cook, right? Supportive. I went places with my husband that I didn't want to go, because I was a woman of God. That's my level of support for my husband. But that did not stop my husband from cheating on me. Okay? Someone said the funny thing is strangers should feel embarrassed. Also, the stranger and funny is a loser in mindset. The enemy uses broken people to bring confusion. Listen here. So now here is the baby reach, y'all. The baby reach. Okay. Oh, hold on. Let me rewind. Okay. So now I thought it was this was the only woman, right? Per individual. I thought it was only individual. There was another individual that came forward. My husband is trying to have an affair with her, during the time that I was basically mourning. Okay, during the time that I was in distress, during the time where I was losing all this weight, losing all my mind, and losing everything, my husband is trying to start a new affair. And on top of that, right? Again, now everybody want to come forward now. Everybody want to come forward. I also heard a rumor that my husband was seeing somebody else. Okay, I heard my husband seeing somebody else. So I asked my husband about this particular other relationship, right? Which he denied. And, I wanted to ask the young lady for herself, but she would not have a conversation with me because she said, now that my family is broken, I trying to break up her family. Okay, that's the person, right? Who said my family break up. Now I'm trying to destroy her family. It turns out that she indeed did have relations with my husband. Now the extent of their relationship wasn't as deep as the first one was. Someone said, I love your attitude. Child, this after healing. This after healing. Y'all don't get confused. This after healing. This is after deliverance. Okay? But anyways, now, so yeah, you guys, my husband, multiple affairs. And as a result of these multiple affairs, my husband have two children, okay? One I found out from, pregnancy, and one I found out 9 months, 9 years after the fact. Now, a lot of people, you ask yourself, or you find that you're facing this infidelity, and all of a sudden you talk about, disrespect. Let me tell you something. The level of disrespect that I was experiencing during this time, man, let me tell you something. It off the charts. All right, because like I said, my husband's affairs didn't stop. My husband's affairs didn't stop because I found out. My husband still continued his affairs whilst I'm saying that I'm going to fight for my marriage. Not only that, my husband, his attitude towards me became very hostile. I couldn't ask my husband about anything. Where you been? Who you been with? It would be a whole argument. The time now, there was this time, the first time when I approached my husband about someone said, hey, this is the message your husband sent to me. My husband slapped me. Okay, he slapped me so hard. I gone from one place to the next, right? The second time I asked my husband, because hey, I hear you having, you've been with this girl. Listen here, who tell you? I didn't want to tell him that his sister told me because she told me out of confidence. So I was trying to not tell him. Listen here. And by trying to not tell her, my husband ended up punching me in the mouth. My husband punched me in my stomach. Now I already tell you all I was tiny, right? I was a little nothing. My husband was big and thick and tall, right? Listen now, my husband punched me so hard in my stomach, I couldn't even catch my breath. He punched the wind out of me, right? So he busted my lip and punched me in the stomach, okay? And then here it is, I gotta go face my sister with a busted lip. And then she say, what happened to you? And I said, child, I hit my lip. I didn't even tell her what happened, right? Embarrassment, shame. Someone say, throw hot coffee on me. Listen here, okay? Remember, you guys, this is somebody who for a long time never even show no hostility. Someone say, how was the baby girl? I wasn't pregnant during this time, okay? I wasn't pregnant during the time of my husband abuse. I'm experiencing the same thing. He is not stopping. He's neglecting and threatening me badly while I'm pregnant. He's completely absent. Now, thankfully, that these things that were uncovered, they were uncovered after I had my young baby. So I was still dealing with an infant during the time that I was going through all of this. Okay. Thankfully, but my husband, he was treating me, right? It was bad, y'all. So some people, a lot of people feel as if that, hey, yeah, I know that you fought for your marriage, but I deal with this, like, oh, my husband raised his hand on me. When I'd be like, yeah, I've dealt with that too, but my husband, he don't know how to talk to me. Yeah, I dealt with that too. Yeah, but my husband still cheating. Yeah, I dealt with that too. So let me tell you something that I used to do during the time that I was going through, y'all. My husband, would leave the house, come home 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. right? And at first, I used to just cry. At first, I would just in my bed, just crying and looking out looking out my window, tending to this newborn baby. But then I decided that whenever my husband leave the house, instead of me crying, I would just worship. I would worship. I began to say, Lord, you are worthy to be praised. Lord, there is none like you. You are an awesome God. At that time, I was hurting. I was hurting. I felt rejected. Okay? Let me tell you something. My husband used to tell me that he got an ice box where his heart used to be. You know? Child, let me tell you something. That was the worst birthday I ever experienced in all my days. My husband told me he wished I would die. And when he said that, it was like, listen here, it was, you know how the cartoons is when they throw and stuff. Listen here, it was like I was like a dagger came in my chest. Okay, I could feel it. Listen here, we talk about spiritual weapon. It was like a dagger come straight to my chest, and my heart started to hurt. So what did I do? I went and I take a little walk around to the beach because I needed some fresh air. I couldn't believe what I was going through. I went and I take some fresh air. I went and I sat on the beach. You guys, just like Lord, what is this I'm going through? How did you even survive so much? You went through a whole lot. Child, let me tell you something. When I tell you God's grace, we don't know how much we need God until we really need God. Okay, I didn't, one thing that I didn't do, y'all, I didn't go and tell people about what I was going through. Some people knew to the extent, but really what I was going through privately, I tried my best to keep it private. Okay, I tried my best to keep it private because again, it's my marriage, it's my husband. Everybody need to know what you're going through. Now, of course, unless you're getting help, unless you're getting help, what people actually can give you help. Now, the help that I am giving today, the help that is available today wasn't available back when I was going through. Okay, so that's another thing too. But anyways, you guys, I felt as if that there was a dagger in my heart. And my husband, he was very cold towards me. My husband was not loving. He was not kind. Like, some people be like, I gotta leave. Listen, talk about rejection. I felt rejection on every single level. My husband, he would tell me, oh my gosh, um, yeah, was definitely with you. Listen here. The Lord was definitely. Did your husband tell you he didn't want to be married to you during the times of abuse? My husband didn't tell me he didn't want, he never said that he didn't want to be married, but his actions told the tale. If I was going based on my husband's actions, I would know that he definitely don't want this marriage. He did not care. I'm going through the same thing. Says, please, I beg you, pray for me. My name is Jackie. His name is Joel. Did he leave the house? My husband never left the house. My husband never left the house. He was a present. He was a present absent spouse. Okay, so now here it is, you guys. I said, how did you lose 50 pounds? Well, I don't know how much pounds I lose, but I lose a lot. It just, listen here, I didn't have an appetite. It was difficult to eat. It was like my stomach was closed up. I couldn't eat. I would go days and probably only eat one meal. Okay. And then too, during that time, I engaged in fasting as well. So that didn't really add to, trying to have a good weight. So now here it is. For a long time, I was preparing for when this baby come because it was inevitable. I know it was happening. So I decided now, okay, this baby coming. Let me tell you something. When I got the news that this baby was born, it opened up a whole. It was just like I just found out about that baby. All right. And so, anyways, you guys, I know that a lot of people have, okay, so if you decide that you're gonna fight for your marriage, one thing that I always tell people, listen here, you gotta make a decision and stick to it. Because if you go on your feelings, if you go based on how you may feel, you're more than likely going to give up and you're going to quit. Because my emotions was up and down, up and down. I drive past the lawyer office. I say, I should just stop just to see what the process look like. Okay, I should just stop just to see how much it would cost. But something on the inside of me wouldn't let me. Okay, how long was your stand? I would believe that my stand was about 5 years until until I started to see some type of turnaround. Now, one thing that I always tell people is restoration. Listen, as some of you don't know, if you stand for 5 years, restoration on top of that 5 years plus 5 more years, okay? Because restoration was a process because we had to build trust. We had to learn how to love again. We just had to learn so much things all over again. So restoration was a process. Okay. He's an argument with other women right now. I'm mad at me too. I don't understand. When did you discern in your heart that he is a spiritual bondage? And did it change your prayer points? Well, let me tell you something. For a long time, I was praying, just asking the Lord to help me. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Lord, help me. Right? But when I discerned what was going on in my marriage, as far as the spiritual bondage that my husband was, it wasn't directly connected to issues in my marriage, right? So I started to get interested in things of the spirit, right? Like understanding like the strong man. I remember my church had a bookstore, and there was this book called Straw Man. The straw man's his name. What's his game? So when I got this particular book, I started to get information in it, but it wasn't directly related to marital issues, right? But as I began to get interested in this particular new sector of like spirituality, I remember one time praying, and I just felt to pray against like bloodline curse, breaking my husband from spiritual wickedness in high places, and binding the strong man. So I started to pray like that. So it wasn't really that I knew that this what it was, but as I was praying one time, it just clicked, and I started to pray against bloodline. Now I'm looking at the book. It's called Strong Man's His Name, What's His Game? um Robert Rob It's called Robeson, Robson. Okay. So it was like a workbook. And I began to pray like that. But let me tell you all something, on top of that, uh, you know, there were so many things that I started to go through, and many of you may be dealing with this too, like longing for attention, and wanting someone to tell you how good you look and how beautiful you are. And it started to be like a demonic, because of the hurt, the pain that I was going through. Now it's the enemy. Now it's the enemy started working in my mind. And so, I started to long for attention, and the enemy gonna send you the attention that you long for. And unfortunately, I wasn't in a place to discern that, hey, I know you're going through this, but stay away from that. Right? Did you start to bind spirits that were in your husband? Did he just get delivered and change and apologize to you? Okay. Yeah, so I began to, but it wasn't during this time, it wasn't right away. Okay. So like I said, we getting some years ahead, right? Strong man's his name, what an authoritative biblical spiritual warfare. Um it's an orange book. Okay. So now listen here, you guys. I trying to get the story. I try not to do a part two, but anyway, it's not a baby come, right? So this baby reach, and I remember seeing the young lady walk in the community. She was coming from the clinic to go to her house, and my husband asked me if I wanted to see the baby. Okay, and I was like, yeah, I be trying to be a supportive woman, right? Looking like a fool, but I saw this baby again. These daggers, man, these daggers has come. Listen, to these daggers real. Anyone of y'all feeling like a dagger in your heart right now? These real, okay? They spread. You can't see them, but they real. So when I saw this baby again, I felt this dagger in my heart. Okay, I felt this dagger in my heart. And my husband asked me if I want to hold the baby. I say no. That time in my mind, I was wishing like they dropped the baby. Like I gotta see the baby brain splatter on the rock. Okay, nah, that ain't godly. I was in a bad place. Okay, I was in a better place. So now here it is, y'all. Oh, I gotta tell y'all how. Okay, let me backtrack. See, I wanted to record this because I know it's gonna go off, flying off all over the place. So let me tell you all about this situation now. This young lady had the baby. My husband got a call. She had the baby, right? My husband was not working at the time. I was the only one working. So I was at the time the breadwinner. So, like I told y'all, we were from a small island. So when you having babies, you have to go to one of the more developed islands where they have the facilities in order to deliver babies. So she had to go to another island to deliver her baby. So here it is now. I'm working for my family, trying to keep our, bills going, trying to keep food on our table. We only had one income while my husband was planning to travel. So now I just get paid, right? Just got paid Friday night. I just got paid. I go on to go on my account because I had to buy some groceries. I had some things to do, and the money gone. So I'm trying to figure out, geez, pay is late. So I went to, HR the next day and I said, hey, my husband didn't even have the decency to tell me he took the money. So I went to HR the next day, or accounts the next day and say, hey, are we supposed to get paid? I said on my account. I said, yes, the money already sent to your account. And I was like, what? Right? So now I'm going looking on the account and my husband withdrew the monies. And then he tells me he's traveling to see this girl and the baby. And I'm like, what? You don't have no money. How could you travel? We got this to do. We ain't no groceries. How you traveling? How? So during the day when he said he's traveling, I was trying to stop my husband from traveling because no, you ain't going nowhere. Listen here. Okay? I wasn't always spiritual, y'all. So there were some things that I was doing was not spiritual. I tried to drag my husband from going. I tried to hold him back from going. We had one vehicle and we lived 45 minutes. We lived 45 minutes out of town, right? So there was no facilities around us. There was no nothing, right? So my husband is going to the airport in our one car and I'm being left home with an infant and my 6-year-old, and I was trying to hold my husband by the feet, and my husband dragged me outside. Okay, I was holding on this. He dragged me outside, basically kicked me off. Kicked me off on the side of the porch while he get in the car and leaving to go to the airport with money what I just earned for 2 weeks, waiting on this money to buy grocery and pay some bills, right? And my husband leave me. Listen here, I can't. Listen here, my body. So I stranded. 45 minutes out of town. Ain't get no ride. Ain't get no money. Right? I gotta call my sister and act like everything okay and tell her come pick us up because he gone in the car. I tell her because I was embarrassed. So I tell her the details what was happening. So now I guess what happened when my husband tell me he gotta stay these extra days. We don't have no car. We don't have no money. We don't have nothing. So now I'm like forced to tell my sister this what happened. I'm forced to embarrass myself and tell her how my husband take my paycheck and go on travel to go see this girl and the baby. Okay? So some people, listen to when I tell you all about the walk of shame. A lot of people look at my, today, our relationship today and think that, hey, oh no, that's no problem. Infidelity, I had no problem. It wasn't just infidelity. It's the things that I had to go through. The abuse, not just physical, but also verbal abuse. Okay? Someone said, did people tell you to leave your husband? People didn't tell me to leave my husband because I didn't tell them the extent of what I was going through. So everybody knew that my husband cheated, But outwardly, we look like we still was good. That time, I was suffering. This sounds like a Tyler Perry movie. I'm sorry. Thank God for deliverance. Yes, it sounds like a Tyler Perry movie. Oh my God. Did your husband apologize to you for hitting you ever? Yes, he eventually did. He eventually did. Okay. But it wasn't in the moment, even during the time when I was standing for my marriage, and believing God for the change and transformation. In my husband's eyes, it was like he didn't see what he was doing wrong. You couldn't tell my husband he was doing anything wrong. Anytime I approach him about a situation or something that he was doing, listen here, it was like I was the wrong person. Let me tell you all. Okay, so again, you all know I trying to be a good wife, trying to be a supportive wife, trying to get past the situation. My husband and I, I sat down with my husband. I said, okay, you have this baby. My husband wasn't working, but I say, here's what we can do. Here's what we can do. When we get stuff, we can split it. This is how we can split it. We can do, because we got two babies now, right? We had two set of pampers. They were just, we said, August, they were just 7 months apart, these babies, right? So there's two set of pampers. So this is what we can do. This is how we can do it to make sure we care for the outside baby and I take care of my children. We had an agreement. We sat down and we had an agreement on how he's gonna operate. Y'all know my husband's still going behind my back and doing whatever he wanted to do. As if I wasn't trying to be supportive with him and make sure, because I know he's a good father. My husband ain't abandon his children. My husband is a good father. So I say, I don't want to put him in a position where he got to choose between me and the baby. I ain't gonna do that because I probably lose. I was worried I was gonna lose the battle, so I ain't even put him in that position. Right? But my husband still decided to go behind my back and do what he wanted to do with this child. And listen here, y'all know, listen here, the devil like attention. So instead of this young lady just enjoy my husband, financing her, taking care of the baby, the way he was taking care of, however, she decided to go and talk and say, my husband taking my hard-earned money and taking care of her and a child. Right? So I got wind. A friend of mine said, Meltoria, she said this. And it wasn't like I hear she say, the friend said, I heard her said this. So I was like, what? Now, see, like I said, I was the only person working. So, and my husband, in our relationship, he was the one that paid bills and all that stuff like that. I was noticing that all kind of bill collectors was calling me, bills that he said he paid. And I'm like, I didn't even know this bill exists, but he wasn't paying the bills, but the money for the bills were leaving. So now here it is. I'm putting, 2 plus 2 is 10 in my situation. Right. So I was putting these together and realizing that, wow, my husband ain't taking care of responsibilities like I am thinking he is supposed to be taking care of them. Like if he say he gonna pay the light bill, I don't know if the light bill getting paid or not. Right? So these are the things that I had to deal with. So how did I deal with, the lies? I had to realize, because I know how some of y'all go, but my husband lying. Listen here. I had to realize that in the season that I was in, my husband was lying. So I couldn't picture fit every time he lied. I just had to maneuver differently. And I get this example all the time. Like if my husband say he's going to pay the light bill, now I know my husband lies. I know my husband had a bad habit. Right? He had a bad habit. He gambled, and I know he had this, extra situation going on. So if my husband said he's going to do something, I don't just believe that he's going to do it. I had to check. So I would call down to the power company and I say, hey, I want to pay my bill. Could you give me the balance? Now my husband is on his way to pay the bill, so it should be zero or it should be minus whatever he's going to pay. So I knew that if I call in and they say, no, your balance is this, and I know that he ain't paid. I just had to begin to operate differently, because if not, I was just adding frustration to my already frustrating situation. Right? Some of y'all be like, Meltoria, my husband lying. Yeah, that's the season y'all in. Your husband, he started to lie. He's telling lies, so you can't expect truth right now. right? I'm glad Most High heard your prayers and led your husband back to him. How did you continue to treat him respectfully during the abuse and cheating? How did you deal with your rejection? Listen here, you guys. Listen, we are up on an hour. Okay, y'all know Let's Talk is but for an hour. But I'm gonna be back tomorrow and we're gonna continue the conversation. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of questions I know you guys had to ask. We're gonna get into those, but we gotta come back tomorrow, y'all. So listen here. Thank you guys for joining me today. I hope y'all can come back on tomorrow at the same time. Excuse me, so that we can continue the conversation, so I can continue part 2 on how I survived infidelity in my marriage. So, anyways, you guys, remember, you guys, y'all become an official supporter of the channel. So, November 1st, you guys, when you see November 1st, only if you are a supporter of the channel, you'll be able to comment and participate in live chats like this. So if you guys look in the chat, you'll see some people's name is in green. Listen here, we have 3 levels of support. There is a supporter, super supporter, and VIP supporter. You can support at any level, okay? So it's that affordable where you can say, hey, I just want to make sure that I'm supporting this channel because this channel has been a blessing to me. I want to make sure that Meltori is able to just keep on going. So listen here, y'all. Make sure tune in tomorrow for part 2. Okay, now let's don't do part 3. Let's just do part 2. So you'll be here 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time so we can continue the conversation. In the meantime, see you all tomorrow.